So 1-0 it finished though. In the end, it didn't matter too much. 3 points for Barcelona and a massive 3 points for them as well. Dani Olmo scoring again as he did in the last game against Celta when he came off the bench. And this is how things are looking in the table right now. Barcelona have taken a 7-point lead on Real Madrid. Real Madrid have a chance to get back to within touching distance of Barcelona when they take on Getafe tomorrow, but it could be tight at the top of the table if they can get the win that they need at the Coliseum. Luis Garcia was watching it for us. Luis, your reaction to Barca coming away with the win tonight against Mallorca?
Result, very important result. The guys just talking about huge performance. No overall because it was fantastic. I think it was a very good one, knowing that there was a lot of rotation, a lot of young players involved, players who were not involved for quite a long period, but we saw Ansu Fati once again. He did a very good job in that left side and also with a lot of freedom, Hector Ford. But Yago Barrasate put a very, very good performance for Mallorca. Very difficult game for Barcelona that couldn't find the end product. They create so many chances, but in the end it's about scoring that first goal to open the other team and manage to maybe in a counter-attack to get the second one. But in the end, it's in the last period of the season is all about the result. To put pressure on Real Madrid, let's see what they can do tomorrow. And that gap, there it become bigger and for one less game of the season. So very good result. We saw different players on the game. So I'm sure the Hansi Flick is very, very pleased with this performance.
Ahead of the game, we talked about those 7 changes and said obviously more will be said at the end of the game if he comes away with the win. He did. What's your thoughts after that, Craig?
He's got it right. He's got what he needed. He made the changes that he wanted. He got a rest for some players that he wanted. Got some game time for others. Didn't drop any points, got the 3 points, put the pressure back on. And I think when you make as many changes as that and you create, what was it, 40 efforts?
40 shots,
24 just in the first half.
Yeah. 40 efforts on goal. I mean, that's telling you've done a lot right. Now, when any game is 1-0, when you're going towards the end of a season and you're in a title race, maybe one that's not quite the tightest, but it got a bit tighter after the weekend. When you're winning 1-0 and you're creating as many chances as that, and it's poor finishing or good goalkeeping or whatever, as a player you're like, they're going to go up the other end, it's going to be a corner or a set piece and they're going to score. And there was moments. There was moments. Mallorca did have the odd moment or two, certainly in the first half and the second half when Kyle Larin was bending his runs, keeping himself onside. But there was nothing really clinical about Mallorca. And if we're being honest, you know, Barca clearly deserved the victory. It was a bit of a slog in terms of putting Mallorca away, but ultimately they've just passed the baton over to Real Madrid tomorrow and say, what have you got? And they absolutely, we know now, need to beat Getafe. Otherwise, it's done and dusted. He has that. He's one of the big reasons, along with the front line, that it looks like Barcelona will go on and win the title. But it's nice to see these players fit and getting the game time again. But yeah, he's just got, it's a natural ability to just see things and then have the ability to play it with great pace.
He makes such a difference to this team, Luis.
Yeah, massive difference. So when he's on the ball, you know that the players start moving, knowing that he's going to see them. I think the most important of Pedri is that he does everything that he needs to be done. And that's what Johan Cruyff used to say, that the most difficult thing in football is do the easiest things. And that's what Pedri does every single game. He's got the ball, he speed up the game when he's needed, he put the ball in movement to the players. But also we see him sometimes just looking up and telling sorry to the players when they make the move because they didn't give the ball, because the game didn't need that, needed more control, more patience and more possession, and he does exactly what he has to be done. So I think it's a privilege to see players like him. It's fantastic that finally he can be fitness-wise more consistent. That is something that we were missing for quite a long time. He's been almost every single game of the season being played. He has rested a couple of times, so it's fantastic for Barcelona, a player who can be as consistent as he is during the whole season.
You know, Ansu Fati got a game tonight, and he was, along with one or two others, I don't know how many years ago now, not that long ago, he was the next superstar.
Given the number 10.
He was, and I know he had some injuries, and he had a really bad hamstring injury and others, but he was going to be the next great thing. And I think that shows you how difficult it can be and how difficult it is to sort of go and reach for that and also maintain that. And so you give credit to, Pedri. Remember, was it the Olympics he played in, and they were worried about him being overused and tired, and so it's a balancing act. And Lamine Yamal's going to have this, and I think Hansi Flick's managed him pretty well. But you do have to manage game time when players are so young. Lamal 17, Pedri came into the team as a young man, Ansu Fati came into the team as a young man, and so that trajectory is not always smooth, and for Ansu Fati it's been much more difficult, Stevie.
Well, you have to say that you'd have to put it down to that injury he had, and he's just never recovered from it, to the point where he had to leave Barcelona to get some game time. Obviously he went to Bournemouth and ended up not getting game time there, and we saw tonight the couple of opportunities. Brighton. We saw the couple of opportunities that he had during this game. He just didn't have that extra step. And more importantly, he didn't have that confidence. He looked as though when he got in the position, he lacked composure to finish it off. And a lot of composure is about being confident. But at the same time, I was thinking, you're talking earlier about Hansi Flick. When you get to this stage and you make 7 changes, at the end of the game, you either look like a genius or a mug. And tonight, he looks like an absolute genius, because it was all about winning the game, and they won it.
You talk about confidence, and we're just sticking on Ansu Fati.
Yeah, stay with Ansu Fati.
Just a little bit, because this is how difficult it must be. You're at one of the biggest clubs in the world. You're one of the next great superstars. For whatever reason, it starts to go a little bit awry for you. You try to find your feet again, and you go out on loan to Brighton, as Stevie mentioned, and then you find yourself on the bench there. With all due respect, Brighton and Hove Albion. Tidy little side, and I was surprised. I was surprised. I thought he would play almost 95-99% of the games, and that must be difficult for a player to go there to a club that is nowhere near the size or has the squad or has the resources of a Barcelona, and still finding yourself not able to be regular in that team, and then you have to go back to your parent club where it's even more difficult. So it's a testing time for the young man. It looks to me as if at some point he's probably going to have to leave Barcelona to find his feet again, to really get his career going the right way again. But there's no doubt it's been a very, very difficult time for him. You don't lose the ability, but as Stevie went, when your confidence gets shattered and you start to doubt yourself, it's very difficult sometimes to pick yourself up.
I thought you were going to say something then. I'll go to Luis, because I do want to talk more about Ansu Fati. Obviously, that was just his second start for Barcelona this season. There was a start back in October. Luis, what did you make of him tonight?
Actually, I was surprised, because he looks sharp. He looks something that we missed from him from his time before just the injury. He was that sharpness, that speed on the ball, that 1v1 situation. He used to drop the shoulder and have a very quick shot on target very quickly, and that's something that we were missing. Today he had the freedom of starting from the left side, going into the center, moving around, and every single time he was on the ball, he had patience, something that in the previous games you could see that he was rushing up things, and that's something that is not good, because your confidence is not at his best. Today he did a good job. It's true that he was missing a little bit the composure because of that lack of confidence, because the fitness-wise is still not 100%, but I like what I saw from Ansu Fati. And to the point of Craig, I totally understand, because when you earn the respect in Barcelona, you are one of the most important players into the club, and you have to go away and show that there is very, very difficult, because you have to get back to your bed. You have to bring different aptitudes that you didn't have to show when you were at Barcelona. You have to run more, you have to press more, and when you arrive to Brighton, no one is waiting for you. Football doesn't wait to anybody, and I think Ansu Fati, I think they learned to the roughest way, the most difficult way, and now I think he realized that he needs to continue working, and Hansi Flick gave him a chance, and I think he took the opportunity well.
If the ball doesn't want to go in, you need to keep going, and see that. I think that's what we've done for the whole game, and it's also good for the players that we don't get normally to get the start, also to get the win. Yeah.
The last few games have been a little bit hard, even though the results have been good. This is the kind of win that you regain the confidence, especially for what's coming next, especially that final of Copa del Rey against Madrid.
Well, I think we've had confidence all over the league. The last game we were losing 1-3, 60 minutes. We come back, I think that shows that we trust what we're doing. We have a really big squad with really good players, and in any moment we can create chances like we did today, like we've done for the whole league. But yeah, of course, this type of games where the ball doesn't want to get in and you win 1-0, it was really important for us, for the defenders, to get the game sheet, because at the end we know, before going to the games, we will have chances for sure because we have a lot of good players up front. But the most important thing for us is to get a clean sheet, yeah.
Let me ask you about Chesney. You play in the centre back. How is playing with him? How important is him for the team?
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, he gives us a lot of, he's really calm, really relaxed. He's really good in the goal. The first half, I think he did a couple of really good saves where he helped us a lot. Playing high with our high line is very important for us.
And just the quick last one, the Liga, to win La Liga, it's really closer now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's one step closer because we have one game less. Of course, we have still 5 games, I think, to play, or 6, I don't know. But yeah, step by step, now we need to focus on the final. That is quite important.
5 more in La Liga, but that was their 5th match in just over 2 weeks tonight. We've got the Copa del Rey final against Real Madrid coming up on Saturday. You've got those 2 legs against Inter in the Champions League, Valladolid sandwiched in between that. And then the other Liga Clásico on May 11th against Real Madrid once again. So 2 Clásicos on the way. But as for Real Madrid, it's over to them now, Luis. They've got a difficult game tomorrow against Getafe. They need to try and make sure, they need to make sure they get all 3 points in this one.
Yeah, definitely. And altogether with the rumors of Ancelotti leaving at the end of the season to the Brazilian national team, the rumors if Mbappe is going to be in or out because of his little injury, the change of formation, if he's going to be a 4-4-2, something that Ancelotti is mentioning that it could be a good result from now on. And in front of them, they're going to have the Portalas style of play that is going to be competitive, intense, frustrating at some point. So a lot of things to put together. A team that has been doubting for quite a long time on his football game and their performance. So a very difficult game for Real Madrid. It's still a Real Madrid, and I'm sure in the beginning of the game will put them as favorite. But if they don't get the win, I think the race of La Liga will be over for them.
Thanks, Luis. Yes, that game coming up tomorrow on ESPN 2 and ESPN Plus. It is Getafe against Real Madrid, Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern for kickoff, but our coverage will begin at 3 with a full 30-minute build-up, and then, of course, El Clásico on the horizon. 2-1 it would finish at the death with that goal from Mateus Nunes. This is how things look in the table right now. It means that City move up to 3rd. As for Aston Villa, though, it is a blow to their Champions League hopes. They're in 7th with 57 points, 4 shy of Manchester City as it stands right now. We've got Frank Leboeuf joining us as it stands right now. But it's not too often we see Pep Guardiola celebrating like that this season, Craig.
No, because it was just such a big win for them, as 1 or 2 have been recently. Because, had Villa beat them tonight, Villa, I think, went into 4th and City drop out of the top 5, dropped down to 6. So it was a big one. But I think, sometimes you make decisions. And I think the decision to put DCC, and it's not the first time, that we took Cash off and put a centre-half to right back. And then Stevie was talking about just the decision making. He got sucked into the bad touch. He doesn't really want to be out there facing a 1-to-1 with a wide guy, but that's where he is. He dives in, and then Doku does the rest with a great ball, and Mateus Nunes at the back post with a terrific finish. And you saw also the frustration in Unai Emery, because he knew how big this was as well. But for Guardiola, it's just about getting into the top 4/5 now. That's how his season has been since probably January, February. And it looks like after this result that they're probably going to do it.
Massive win today for City, Stevie.
Well, it makes them favourites, I would say. Had they not won this game, had it been it probably deserved to be a draw. Probably both sides deserve to get a point out of this. Certainly Villa deserve something out of it. And that would have made it nip and tuck. But I think this result could be the one that just changes it for City. And I think absolutely now, after beating Villa, they become one of the favourites for the top 5.
What did you think of it, Frank?
Well, that was a good game to watch, entertaining to watch, and as Stevie said, I think a draw would have been fair. Even if I think Manchester City tried maybe more, but in counter-attack, Villa were very present and they did what they had to do. I agree with Craig. the substitution of Cash with Disasi was a bad option from Unai Emery. And on City side, you know, I saw a better City in a way that the contra-pressing was better than before. They were all together working hard to get the ball back. But there's the same issue from Manchester City. As long as they don't have Marmoush or Doku on the side to change the pace of the game and to make the difference, they don't achieve anything. And we saw that the first half with Marmoush when he gave the ball to the assist to Silva. And Doku when he came on, and even if I think he wanted to give the ball to Gundogan and not Nunes, he changed the pace. He created problem and issues to the opponent. The other they don't. They keep the ball. They're doing great. I think Silva had a decent game, very good game, even though. But they don't change the pace, and there are no surprises anymore. And so I think Guardiola has to think about that. He had a hard time to make a substitution today, still, but he made a good one with Doku, and he has to think about that more to change his game and to change of the way he thinks the game.
If he doesn't think Guardiola that's a penalty, then he doesn't know what a penalty is. I mean, let's be honest.
He was fuming though.
Oh yeah.
Why though?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
I mean, Diaz's right thigh comes across and wipes out Ramsey. It's not difficult on the behind the goal angle. But you mentioned Guardiola celebrating. It was not just him after the game. And I kind of think that tells you where they are and where they've been. That I was watching the players go down the tunnel, and Begiristan, one of the technical sporting directors, was out there as well, hugging Guardiola and hugging the players, and Rodri. It was like, I've only ever seen them do that when they sort of beat Liverpool to win the league and then win the Champions League. That's the only time I've really seen them celebrate like I saw them tonight. It was like they just won the double. It was just they had done something that nobody else had done, and I think it kind of tells you the mindset, how much they've been struggling and how much this game against a very good Villa side meant to them tonight, because you got the feeling of Villa had taken the 3 points, and as the guys have said, they could have done with the chances that they created. And Villa slept to 6. We're now putting them in the same sort of boat as Chelsea, aren't we? No, they're going to struggle to get in. So the way they celebrated going off the pitch was like, I'm used to seeing them celebrate when they win the Champions League. So obviously inside the dressing room, they knew that was a big night for them.
And they knew it wasn't going to be easy tonight, as Craig mentioned, given Villa's form coming into it, Stevie. What does that do for them now?
Well, and they shouldn't, because not only because of who the opposition were and how the opposition play, but they know Unai Emery's smart, knows what he's doing, he knew he would come up with something, but also because they know that they're a little unpredictable. And so everything makes them get on their toes and makes them anxious. And as Craig's talking about there at the end of the game, that tells you that they knew coming into this game that this could go either way. And they were wanting to make sure it went their way. Now it turns out that piece of magic from Doku, nice finish from Nunez, means that they take the spoils. But they understand that between now and the end of the season, they can't take the foot off the pedal, because they know they're in a fight to get in Champions League. And for them, not being in the Champions League next season, well, you saw the smiles on their faces. They know they've got to be there.
They've put themselves in the driving seat now, though, Manchester City. They're up to third with that result. And when you take a look at the fixtures that they've got remaining in the Premier League, it's looking a lot more favourable for them.
The old top 5 fixture running.
It's that time of the show.
Go, it's exciting. Come on, drop it in. Come on, drop it in. Oh, look at that.
Oh, yes.
Away to Southampton.
Well, to be fair, Wolves are probably the informed team in the Premier League. No, Southampton, can we just... that's a given, yeah?
Yep.
So it's not easy. I mean, Fulham are a bit hit and a miss, and Bournemouth are a good side, but they've had the moments. So I think Man City will be in the top 5.
Yeah.
It will not be the last time we're talking about this. As for Villa, they've got more of an uphill battle with what remains after today's result. Let's take a look at how things look for Unai Emery's men in the games that remain. They too will be facing Fulham and also Bournemouth, and then the last 2 games, well, you don't know what you're going to get here, because it's Spurs and Manchester United.
Do you know, I think they're all winnable for Villa. I really do. I really think that it's down to what Forest do, because for me it's between Forest and Villa for the 5th spot. I really think it is. I think the rest are going to be okay. I don't think Chelsea's going to be involved. And so depending on what Forest do, because I think Villa's going to pick up plenty of points. So if Forest are the Forest of the majority of the season, then they're in pole position because they're in the spot and they're 3 points ahead. But I'm not quite so sure that Forest can do that. Yes, they won at Tottenham the other day, but I think they were fortunate to win. Tottenham deserved at least a point, didn't get it. So, yeah, for me, it's between Forest and Villa for that last spot.
You're sounding like Postecoglou. You're big Ange.
Big guys, they played well, but we lost.
Are they winnable for you,
Yeah.
Villa?
I mean, Villa, you know, we saw against PSG, we didn't think they would be able to put PSG under the amount of pressure that they did, particularly in the second game, and create the chances. You know, he's got Watkins who wants to play frustrated. He's got a squad that he can rotate. Asensio's another player. Rashford. They're on their toes at the end of the season to see who's going to be playing. They've also got the FA Cup semi-finals, at the weekend. So that they have still a lot to play for in this season. So they could put a run together, a very organised side. That was just a body blow for them, particularly in injury time tonight. But you know, they've picked themselves up before and gone again. But I think City will definitely be in. Remind me, Newcastle already in the top 4? I can't remember.
5.
Yeah, I can't look at the screen at the moment. So yeah, I think
59 points.
Chelsea would be a concern, and Villa could come strong, but it's going to be tight if indeed you're interested in who gets the 5th spot.
Are you interested in Villa getting that 5th spot, Frank?
I am, because I'm concerned about Chelsea. I want to see the Blues, you know, being maybe in the first 5, and that's going to be a big fight and big battle with interesting games. And I have to say that Aston Villa, the villains, are so unfortunate, you know, with what we saw against Paris Saint-Germain, just the game that we saw. We were talking about Martinez, for example, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, maybe after Courtois, that he makes the saves and the ball goes back to his foot and he moves the foot and the ball, it's like an own goal. That's absolutely crazy. And you see so many players that I'm really keen of, you know, like McGinn, like Camara in the middle of the park. They work so hard, very talented. And Rashford. I mean, I want to see Rashford playing against Manchester United the last game and scoring the goal, which qualifies the villains for Europe next season. That would be fun. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see until the end of the season how they behave. If they don't let it go, if they still fight, I think the spirit is still there, so they want to give the maximum. So I think Villa can be in the first 5, yeah.
At least somebody's interested in who's going to finish in the top 5. Frank Leboeuf, every week we're going to...
I'll tell you who else is interested. Enzo Maresca. Because what the hell... Because what's going to happen? I don't know. How does he paint it? If they finish a spot or 2 better than last year, is that progression? Is that enough for a board that have spent a lot of money? For a team that were flying at the start of the season? I don't know. I'm not suggesting you just hire and fire everybody when they get bad results, but we know how this club operates, Chelsea. We know how they have operated with previous ownership and this ownership. You know, Tuchel, Potter, Pochettino, they've all gone. And if they don't get in the Champions League and get the money and the gravitas that comes in terms of luring players in, how safe is his job? So that has to be a huge concern.
Frank, you can answer that for us. How safe is Maresca's job? How dependent is it on how Chelsea finish this season?
I don't feel that is a risk right now with the club, because I think the club will have to settle down and say, okay, for once, you know, we're going to give somebody a chance to carry on and to see if they can get better. I'm concerned because we can see the inconsistency that the players are showing week in, week out. But yeah, if they have a catastrophic end of the season, that might be the end of Enzo Maresca. But I do believe that they're going to give him a chance. I don't think even if they qualify for the Champions League, I don't think they're going to change their politics and they're going to buy players that they really need. And we all agree that what they need is experienced players. It's not the type of business they want to be involved in. So I don't think it's going to change anything. It's what I say. I mean, I take care of Strasbourg because it was my former club, where people are very happy because they're forced in the league. They say they're going to be stolen by every club, by young players that Chelsea put there in. and they're going to start again from scratch. And I think it's going to be almost the same for Chelsea. If somebody wants Cole Palmer, they're going to sell Cole Palmer because that's part of the business. If they want somebody who wants to get another player who is doing great this season, they're going to sell him because that's what they want to do. That's the business they're involved in. It's not about creating something for the future or a very near future. That's not going to work. So I'm concerned about how they're going to work on that. I'm less concerned about Enzo Maresca's job because I don't think they're going to move anybody from there.
If Chelsea as a football club are happy with finishing sixth and think they're going to keep Maresca, they're never going to get anywhere, are they? How can Chelsea spend £1 billion on players and finish sixth, and having gotten rid of managers previously who were dealing up the same stuff that Maresca's dealing up now with Chelsea? How are they going to get better if they're just going to accept that being sixth is okay and you keep the manager? The manager's not done a great job, let's be honest. He hasn't. And he's talking in riddles now, and that's a sign of pressure. That's a sign of pressure. When you start coming out with things and everybody's trying to figure out what you're talking about, then you're clearly not comfortable. So how did Chelsea get any better? When the manager's not comfortable, the players are not responding to him when it matters most, that's what counts. It's not what you do after 3 or 4 months of the season or have a good Christmas. It's about what you do the last 10 games of the season and get results. And they're not getting any, which they haven't had for goodness knows how long, but they're going to be okay with that. Come on. They're never going to go anywhere.
Stevie, I don't think they want to get better. They don't want to get better. They're happy with that as long as the players do well. And if they can sell them a bigger amount that they pay them, they're quite happy and they're going to start again. It's only about being there and selling players a bigger amount that they bought them. That's the only concern that they have. And I tell you, they bought, I don't know, 40 million, they bought Cole Palmer. If they sell him right now, it will be 120. They're going to be very happy to get rid of Cole Palmer. And they're going to try to find somebody else.
But what makes you say that they're going to sell their best players, Frank?
Because that's part of the trading business they're involved in. That's the business they want to do, that they show to the world that they want to buy young players. They completely destroy the basics of Chelsea. Was a mix of young players coming from the club and experienced players coming from abroad or from England and doing great altogether. We saw that with Abramovich, and where Chelsea were really successful. It's what Chelsea was doing. Right now, it's completely different. Got rid of N'Golo Kante, got rid of so many other players, and just brought young players in order to sell them more than they bought them. It's a big window. They are products. They bought products that they're going to sell in a bigger amount. That's the only thing that they want to do. I don't think they want to reach the Champions League. They don't care.
No, I don't. I would disagree there. I think the strategy in player recruitment, whether we agree or not, has been relatively clear. Younger players, and they have got one of the youngest squads. I mean, by the average age, it is. The strategy here has been clear. Younger players, big long contracts. Whether we agree with that or not, that's the way they have gone down the road, right? There's no sign yet they're going to sell any of those players if somebody comes along, but we'll find out. I don't think so. The bigger question is, if that's your strategy going forward with 6, 7, 8 year contracts with players in their early 20s, what are you going to do in terms of the coaching structure? Are you going to let somebody evolve to work with these players? Or are you going to continue to go down the road that you've been going down, which doesn't mirror the playing strategy? Because that's younger players, longer outlook. The management decisions thus far have been shorter outlook. What can you do for us this season? What can you do for us now? And the 3 managers that have been in there under this ownership that I mentioned have all been fired. I mean, what was Pochettino in there, a year? Yeah. He knew he was getting the job, he was in a year. So the question is, for me, if they don't make the top 6, I'm not suggesting Maresca's the man for the job or not. I've no idea. Certainly, I think there's a big doubt. But are they going to continue to buy younger players for a longer term project and keep firing managers? or are they going to find somebody that they're going to stick with? Because the two approaches are completely the polar opposite of each other. And if you continue to go down the road of firing managers with building a younger squad, it's not going to work.
That was bonus content for you here on ESPN.
I wish I hadn't brought that up now.
You brought it up. We got a full segment on Chelsea for all you Chelsea fans. I don't know how much you'll have liked it though. These guys will be answering your questions on the next edition of Extra Time. You can catch it over on our YouTube channel. That's where it's updated every single day. And those FA Cup semis were mentioned. Both Aston Villa and Man City in action. Saturday, Villa taking on Crystal Palace. Sunday, Man City against Nottingham Forest. Both games available on ESPN+. We've got Craig and Stevie here in the studio. Frank LeBoeuf is joining us as well. Last year, you told me what the TST was.
What?
The tournament in the summer, the soccer tournament.
Oh, but you. Oh, so right. I know what you mean now. I never knew it was called TSD though.
TST.
Well, there you go. TST.
I thought you were playing along when you try and make me doubt myself.
I know about the tournament, but I didn't have a clue what
So
TST
go
meant.
watch, streaming now on ESPN+. Herc and Seb have got you covered. The star-studded cast tell you all about the group reveal for 2025.
I don't know now.
Okay. First question. Has Pep rated the ship at Man City, and does he have them going in the right direction to challenge for the Premier League title next season?
But early show.
Frank?
Frank?
Too early to say. I think it was a little bit better. I think I was talking during the show about the counter-pressing that they've done better, that they lost it during the season, and I found today they were doing that a little bit better. But again, I think Pep Guardiola would have to understand that the football has changed, and this football has to evolve in a way that he has to put more pace into the game. Less possession, maybe more vertical. And the two examples that which go the right way are Marmoush in the first half and for most of the game, and Doku when he came on. And they are two game changers. And the others are people who keep the ball, and the others are game changers. And I think that's where he has to go in order to go back to the race.
Next question for you. Oh. Pedri's 22, Balde's 21, Gavi's 20, and Lamine is 17. How come these players play at such a high level so young?
Easy peasy, don't you go?
Well, to be fair, when clubs like Barcelona do recruit, along with others obviously, the best of the young talent, there's probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of youngsters from I don't know what age, till 15, 16, go to these massive clubs and, on a weekly basis, and try out and train, and they get filtered. Unfortunately, most of them fall by the wayside, and they cherry pick these super talented youngsters. Now, there's no guarantee when you do that you're going to go to, because we all played we used to call it the resis, we've all played in the reserves, and you're in the reserves and it's great, and you're playing with experienced pros, but you never know until you make that step up how it's going to be. And so there's no answer apart from talent. You cherry pick the best talent, and then you try and nurture and progress them, and sometimes this is what you get. I mean, if you think back to Man United, just to give you an example, when they were going through a transition, what was it, Stevie? Probably 94, something like that, maybe 95. And all those youngsters came through.
92.
Class in 92, sorry.
Yeah, took Fergie 6 years to build that base of bringing in
the academy
young
players.
Yeah.
And you probably never be able to do that again with that amount of players. But it can happen, and it's happened, obviously. It happened at Man United, and it's happened, I'm sure, elsewhere, but it certainly happened at Barcelona.
Stevie, once Liverpool clinches the title, would you bench your best 11 for the remainder of the season and give more playing time to the youngsters, considering they're out of all of the competitions and you'd want to avoid any serious injuries to your top players?
Listen, all the younger players, if they're good enough, then you probably should try and get them on the field more often. But if if they're not good enough, then you can harm them by just throwing them in, and then they don't do well. So it's kind of a balancing act of giving them time, but at the same time, if they're not ready for it, then you keep them off and just play your normal guys.
When can Liverpool win this league?
Next week.
Next week.
This weekend. Yeah. Well, sorry, next weekend.
What do you think, guys? What do you think about the fact that when you win a title and you have, like, I don't know how many games left, maybe 6, 7 games left? What about the respect of the Premier League? You won the title, you have the right to do whatever you want, but you're going to find opponents who have something to fight against others. And so, in order to respect the Premier League, do you think, as a coach, you have to try to maybe not play the best team, but you have to be respectful towards the others?
Yeah, what you mean is because some teams are fighting for relegation and some teams are fighing for
exactly
top 5.
You know, the top
European
5,
spots.
the Conference League, the Europa League. So there is a duty there to put out what you would call a competitive side, which I think Arne Slot will do. And I think as a player, you don't really think about, I'm going to do my cruise shoot and I'll be out next season. You want to play and you want to finish. No, it's not a scenario I've ever known, because certainly I don't know if Stevie, when he won titles at Liverpool, because when I won the title when we were at Celtic, it went to the last day. We didn't have that luxury, so I don't know quite how that would feel as a player.
Well, it's you don't have an edge.
What was the earliest you guys won?
I think 4 games. I think 82, 83, they won it with about five games to go. And I can tell you the last 5 games were horrendous. They weren't good at all. Because the edge is completely gone. You're not really playing for anything. And it's nothing to do with disrespecting the league. But when you've got nothing to play for, it feels like you've got nothing to play for, then it's not really your fault. It's the same with the younger players. At the end of the day, if you've got some young guys, now, and I'm not talking about the Kwanzas or people like that, I'm talking about the really young ones. Which is why I said if they're not ready, you don't play them because they're going to hurt them. But at the end of the day, if you're not sure and you think they might be, and you want to find out, respecting the league's got nothing to do with it. You're looking after your own club and you're looking after your own players. So, yeah, respecting the competition doesn't really come into it. Your boys that have played all season will not be looking forward to playing 4 games for no reason. And all the guys who haven't really played will be kind of, well, I'm only playing because we've already won the league. But then your younger guys will be like busting their gut to play. So it's really not an easy thing to do. There's no real rhyme or reason or correct answer for it.
Well, we'll find out. Spurs have lost as many Premier League games this season as they did in Pochettino's last 3 seasons at the club. Do you think Daniel Levy would like a do-over?
A do-over?
A change, I'd say.
I think change is probably going to be inevitable at Spurs. I mean, even if they win, dare say even if they win this Europa League, he may cut Postecoglou loose because they. We talked about that with Ten Hag, winning cups.
Exactly.
And winning cups is a kind of, it's a great thing to be doing. Of course it is, but it is, it's knockout. You're there and backs to the wall, and you win. You dig out some results. Somehow you get to a cup final. Really poor teams in the Premier League have got to cup finals. 2013, Wigan won it somehow against Man City and were relegated. And I get the feeling no matter what happens that the league form has become so bad, and the performances and the lack of... When you watch Spurs, and I know they created some chances yesterday against Nottingham Forest, when you watch Spurs, they continue to be a team that looks like he's never found a resolution to being all over the place. And it looks like that's never going to change with Postecoglou at Tottenham. I don't know. Do you think he's gone?
There are those intangibles that at a football club, I'm going to assume that when Pochettino finished, there was a feeling or an atmosphere at the club where it was starting to go that way. And so when you're Levy, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to just keep letting it slip down and down? Or are you going to try and make a change to A, keep it where it is at the worst, and then build it? So I guess that's what happened with Pochettino. And Ange, whether he wins the Europa League or not, I'll bet you there's an atmosphere at the club now where everybody's walking around like that and not looking each other in the eye. And I'm talking about the whole building.
England doesn't matter if he wins it or not. That he'll be fun at the end of it.
Yeah, because
everything.
Even the fans are saying, look, we want to be, you know, we want to get to the Europa League final, we want to win it, but we can't have another 38 games of this. They're 16th, I think, in the Premier League, and they're slipping down, by the way. They could finish one above the relegation zone. And it's not just that, it's the manner in which that they've sort of gone about it. They've lost all their sort of, you know, all that sort of stardust that he brought in where the football was just great. It's neither really good defending now or really good attacking. It's something that's a little bit bland in the middle. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's a shame because it was a nice story at Tottenham when he came in, and the change in philosophy and the change of the way they played. It was entertaining. It was everything you wanted to see. But I think the relationship he's got now with the fans has turned sour way long ago, and I think the big question is who is going to be the next manager.
It's kind of gone from a breath of fresh air to a big huge cloud hanging over the place. Completely turned around the other way.
Yeah, and now we find out who's next. Frank, how much impact do language differences make between the manager and players?
Well, it depends the way you see it. I mean, if you have like Unai Emery, who couldn't speak any French when he came to France, that was a real issue. Nowadays, they have people who can translate. I remember in a different way, some coaches like Ruud Gullit speaking English very well, but Gianfranco Zola, myself, or Gianluca Vialli not speaking English very well. We had people translating for us, and Graham Rix was my translator in a way because he played in France. But it can be overwhelming in a way, not when you have the time to explain everything, but when you are during a game, you want to change something, and he has to shout on you something, and you don't get it. It's a problem, but it's a problem also with the other players. So that's your duty as a player or as a coach. If you come to a club in England, to learn English, at least the basics, the quickest you can, because that's so important to talk, to say, in my experience, to say man on, to say keeper, whatever it could have been, and to say turn. That's something that has to become automatic, and for the coach to give simple advices to the players in their mother language, in English, for English players. That I think it's very important to get into the language as soon as possible. Otherwise, yeah, it can be tricky at the end of the day.
The last question, it's a nice question. Which player had the best first touch you've ever seen? I'll ask you all.
Oh. So
well,
many.
Lots. There was lots of them. I shall probably say, but there was a lot of them. Gianfranco Zola, probably. Just.
You agree, Frank?
Oh my God, 100%, 100%. I mean, I saw him touching the ball. Do you remember when we played against Wimbledon semi-finals against in Arsenal at Highbury?
Yes.
And the goal that he scored, and he made the changes, and he went right, but put the ball on the left behind his leg and turn. That was so exquisite. You have to see that, because that says the guy is from another planet. That's what it is. But you can say Dennis Bergkamp, what he does, everybody remembers the control that he makes, and turn around the defender and score the goal. Makes you belonging to a short amount of players coming from a different planet.
I'll go for the biggest surprise would be Jan Molby. Because when Big Jan walked through the door, he was he was fit as a fiddle, and for him he was in good shape, but he was still twice the size of everybody else. And so everybody's kind of looking, going, who's this guy? who's this guy? I think he's in the wrong place. Until the balls come out. And then somebody pings the ball at him, he just kills it dead. Then you're like, all right, fair enough, yeah, we know what you're all about now.
I love that. I love seeing those compilations of managers on the sidelines who played when the ball comes to them. Love those.
He can pass the ball, big Jan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, aye.
Yeah, I like
yeah,
next question. Okay, no questions about Chelsea just for another 10 minutes of the show?
Well, we could do. You want to do like an Enzo Maresca segment?
I think, no, we've already done that in the main show. Go and
I'm
check it
gonna
out over on our YouTube channel.
Well, my favourite part of the main show was the Dutch Cup final.
Yeah, but you'd already seen it, so...
Well, no, I was walking the dogs yesterday and I went, I wonder how the Dutch Cup final's getting on.
Well, now you know.
You're such a bad person.
Thank you so much for sending in your questions. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again.